Metal Gear is one of the most widely acclaimed video game franchises, known both for codifying the stealth genre and having one of the longest, most convoluted plots of any medium known to man. It begins in the early 60s during the Cold War following Naked Snake, yes that's his actual codename, who is part of a special military group called Fox. Snake is thrown into the rainforest jungles of Russia without any food to pick up a Russian rocket scientist named Sokolov. Snake saves him from a wannabe cowboy furry but gets thrown off a cliff by his mom, the boss in the Russian Justice League, who set off a nuke on their way out. Snake now has to run and kill his mom and destroy a really big tank so Uncle Sam doesn't have to take any responsibility for breaking into Roger's garage. Along his journey, Snake meets a large cast of lovely war veterans like Revolver Ocelot, a Russian agent actually US double agent with the ability to make cat noises and spin revolvers. Ava, a Chinese double agent pretending to help Snake. B-Man, Russian Spider-Man, Dying Grandpa, Massive Ladder, TF2 Pyro, a dead guy, who all explode. Snake learns that Colonel Static, a very electric man who has questionable relations with Raiden's grandpa, stole $100 billion from every important country in the world's trust fund. Snake, a natural capitalist, fights Colonel Static and his giant tank with Ava's motorcycle and steals it back. Now that the tank is gone, Snake finds his mom and beats her using CQC. And she tells him about the time she went to space and that war is bad actually. And nobody understands what the hell she was talking about, which motivates the entire conflict of the rest of the series. Snake and Ava steal a plane and get the hell out of Dodge, before the boss explodes. Ocelot's back, and he and Snake make sure to do some male bonding before he leaves. Snake, now called Big Boss, forms a worldwide Illuminati gamer clan with his homies from the last mission called the Patriots, but gets pissy and leaves when they clone him without asking for consent. Time skip now to the 70s, Big Boss fucks off to Costa Rica in order to make his own gamer clan for hire, alongside his new sidekick, Miller, whom he has a questionable relationship with. This is a really good idea, guys. He is hired by a South American army group who don't really matter in order to overthrow some terrorists, but almost immediately gets distracted by rumors of another big tank, but with legs this time. Big Boss goes Scooby-Doo in the situation and finds out that the big horse tank is powered by an AI cleverbot trained to be a Snake's mom by Dr. Strangelove, a woman who had a very strange love with the boss because she was a lesbian. After being tickled into submission, Big Boss leaves and tracks down the living human fucking piece of shit bastard who built his giant mom horse robot. The four-eyed bastard tells Big Boss about the other cool Bakugan toys he's made, and he goes to destroy them all in order to find his mom. And this is completely unrelated, but I wanted to point out somewhere that Big Boss fights a literal dragon. The nerd is so impressed by his performance that he builds Big Boss a Bakugan of his own, and makes Metal Gear Z, the very first Metal Gear. Big Boss finally is able to track down his giant mom horse robot weapon, but oh no, she's about to launch a nuke after being hacked by Hot Cold Man. Big Boss tries to call up the United States to warn them about the nuke, but they're still pissy he wouldn't let them clone him and hang up. So he takes matters into his own hands and rips out his mom's computer brain, causing her to feel bad and walk right into the lake to kill herself. One of the South American army people from earlier reveals that they do actually matter to the plot. And Snake throws her into the ocean. After running a totally legitimate army for another year, Big Boss goes to save two kids who don't really matter. And while he's gone, the bastard tells the US they have a nuke so that this guy can visit Mother Base under probable cause. While Boss's life's work is burning to the ground, a random soldier gets sucked into a magic portal and is sent to a fate worse than death. A shitty zombie game cash grab. Big Boss, Miller, and some random medic nobody cares about are about to escape in a helicopter, but then the child explodes, sending Big Boss into a coma that lasts for the next 9 years. Big Boss wakes up from his nap when the hospital is turned into a Call of Duty mission by the Human Torch and the kid from Stranger Things, and escapes with the totally not important random person before being rescued by Ocelot, who dumped his furry phase in order to fully embrace the ways of the American cowboy. Big Boss immediately gets back onto the grind, making yet another army in order to enact red-hot revenge on the Hamburglar. However, he needs new soldiers, and quick, which he resolves by simply asking the other kids on the playground if they would like to join his new club. Big Boss hears about how the bastard is in Afghanistan and takes a stroll over there to nicely ask him why he ratted them out to the Hamburglar, but is briefly interrupted by a mute striptease sniper who needs to wear as little clothing as possible or else she dies. A lot more happens, but none of it really matters, so I'm just going to lazily monologue everything to you all at once and leave this section as unfinished as the game is. The Hamburglar used diseases that either killed everybody that doesn't speak English or gives them superpowers. Quiet doesn't matter to the plot, and leaves. The Human Torch is actually Colonel Static. These two kids are really important later on. Traitor is thrown out of Mother Base after it is revealed that he had a child with Strangelove, murdered her in cold blood, and used the kid as a guinea pig to test Metal Gears with. I'm happy to announce that he will later be drowned in a family pool because he can't swim. In a shocking twist, it is revealed that this Big Boss isn't Big Boss, but actually this guy, who was hypnotized to think that he was Big Boss so that the real one could run off to Africa and make another private army named Outer Heaven. The medic decides to keep being the stuntman Big Boss anyways. Miller is devastated that his crush was a faker all along and vows to kill Big Boss, while Ocelot promises to kill Miller someday. Time skip again to the mid-90s, Big Boss decides to build a second Metal Gear, which pisses off the United States, and Foxhound, which is totally different from Fox, sends in Gray Fox, who is captured 10 minutes after he enters the building. So instead, they send in absolute rookie Solid Snake, a level 1 Foxhound newbie, who was trained by Miller after his burger joint scheme went sideways.
I call it the chemical burger. What on earth is that color?
Snake gets beginner's luck and starts wreaking havoc all throughout the base entirely on his own, saving his homie Gray Fox and destroying the new Metal Gear, which is way worse than Zeke because the traitor drowned in that pool I mentioned earlier. Stuntman Big Boss gets so angry, setting off the base's self-destruct sequence and raging to Snake about how he was behind the whole thing the entire time. Big Boss tries to deal with Snake directly, but loses all 3 stocks immediately and is left behind to die in the loser bracket. Four years later, Zanzibar Land kidnaps a scientist who has discovered a way to make synthetic oil, which rouses a terrifyingly evil organization called the United States to send Solid Snake to commandeer it. Snake gets the formula for the fake oil, but before he can return to the US, he is stopped by Gray Fox, who is a bad guy now, in another Metal Gear. But Snake destroys it and they wrestle on a minefield and Gray Fox dies. Big Boss is here too, who tells Snake he's his dad, causing Snake to kick in his shit again. He's really dead this time, I promise guys. And now we're in 2005, following that blonde kid from earlier called Liquid Snake, who's a different person from Solid Snake. Foxhound's Liquid Leader Snake decides he's feeling frisky and stages a coup in Alaska's Shadow Moses Island, while attempting to nuke the United States if he doesn't get Big Boss's rotting corpse. Before giving it though, Snake is sent in to check on the only 2 hostages the United States cares about, DARPA Chief and Armstag President. Snake finds Armstag President and Colonel Campbell's daughter Meryl, but he has a random fucking heart attack and dies while Meryl just runs away, so Snake goes in to check on the second guy. Hey, look, Ocelot's back, just as Calloway is before, but is now legally married to his revolvers. Luckily, his right hand magically falls off, and Snake is able to call the DARPA chief, who tells him that there's a Metal Gear here and has another fucking heart attack. God damn it, again?
What the hell?
Now Snake is pissed that there's yet another Metal Gear that he needs to clean up, and goes to confront the engineer who built it. Gray Fox is also back, and now he's a cyborg ninja who loves screaming, hates guns, and is about to kill the engineer Snake's looking for before he has a sudden heart attack and walks away. Snake finds his soon-to-be BFF Otacon and is told how to destroy Metal Gear Rex. Before he can do that, however, that kid from earlier comes back, and is now a psychic who attacks you by reading your internet search history out loud during the boss fight.
No! Why does that exist?
I regret nothing.
Snake finds his way to Rex's secret lair, and Liquid monologues about how they're actually both nearly perfect genetic clones of Big Boss, and how he's mad that Snake has the dominant genes and how he has the recessive ones, thus making him inferior. Snake is so shocked that Liquid has never taken a biology class that he does nothing, while Liquid squishes Gray Fox. But not before he's able to tell Snake to believe in himself. This pep talk gives Snake all the spunk he needs to cripple Rex, and throw Liquid off it to his death. But Liquid isn't actually dead. Liquid calls Snake a fucker and has a heart attack. And Naomi admits to Snake that he was given a disease that gives people heart attacks, and that one day he too will have a heart attack as well. Snake doesn't really want to think about that, and rides off into the sunset with Meryl, or Otacon if you're more about the homies.
The Hudson River, 2 years ago. We had classified intelligence that a new type of metal gear was scheduled for transport. The whole thing stank, but our noses have been out in the cold too long.
Two years after Shadow Moses, Snake dumps Meryl and hooks up with Otacon to start a small non-profit named Philanthropy, dedicated to stopping Metal Gears because they have nothing better to do. Snake is infiltrating a US Army tanker to take pictures of Metal Gear for his MySpace blog, but is inconveniently hijacked by a bunch of Russians at the exact same time. Snake beats up their commander, and Ocelot shows up in front of like 100 soldiers, and announces that Liquid's arm replaced his own after it fell off, causing Liquid to take over his mind sometimes. Liquid then steals the army Metal Gear named Ray and kills everybody on board, including Solid Snake, who he frames for everything. Another 2 years later, a Foxhound agent named Snake, but actually Raiden, infiltrates an offshore facility in Manhattan called Big Shell because it has been taken over by a group of terrorists. They call themselves the Sons of Liberty and are led by Solid Snake. Raiden meets a brand new, never-before-seen character named Iroquois Pliskin, who seems to have become really good friends of Otacon since Snake's death. Snake and Pliskin and Otacon are confronted by Snake, where he reveals he isn't actually Snake, but Snake, a Spider-Man villain who's apparently an even more perfect copy of Snake than Snake or Snake. Pliskin then reveals he's not Pliskin, but actually Snake in disguise because he didn't die, instead using Snake's body to fool the media that he died. Raiden learns that the entire Big Shell is actually a really big Metal Gear, and finds Otacon's sister Emma so she can download Bonzi Body and destroy the thing. Anyways, Emma's killed by Vamp, a vampire who's called Vamp.
Because he's bisexual.
But luckily, Otacon is able to tie up loose ends of Emma before she dies. Raiden and Snake enter Arsenal Gear to upload a zip bomb, while Raiden takes down 20 Metal Gear Rays with nothing but sexy hair and a rocket launcher, and fans will still call him a bitch because he doesn't know CQC. Raiden confronts Solidus and is monologued at by him and Arsenal Gear's AI. Solidus tells him how Raiden is his adopted son, who he made a child soldier, and which Raiden suppresses due to trauma. The Colonel AI Raiden has been talking to tells him that he doesn't matter, and wants him to be more like Solid Snake, while criticizing the amount of garbage content there is online, like this video. Amidst the chaos, Ocelot escapes the scene in a ray, and Snake puts his swimming to the test. Arsenal Gear then rams into the side of Manhattan, with Raiden in an intense duel with Solidus on top of Federal Hall, using a katana Snake randomly gave him. At the same time, the Patriot AI is being corrupted and constantly harassing Raiden and asking him to watch YouTube poops.
Snake.
After the fight, Snake pulls Raiden aside and gives him some life advice, and Raiden learns that the true adventurer was not the friends he made along the way, but the power within. With his will reinforced, Raiden commits to wasting his entire life in destroying the rest of the Patriots. In the time skip, Ocelot has now somehow been fully possessed by Liquid's arm, becoming Liquid Ocelot. The United Nations don't really like this because he's making more money than them now, and hire Solid Snake to finish him off for good. As you may notice, Snake looks like shit now, because his daddy genes are wearing out because he was cloned in his mid-50s. Snake starts by rescuing Naomi, who tells him Liquid's plan to use Big Boss's corpse to unlock the Patriot's master AI, so he can take over every nanomachine in the world, making every soldier like and subscribe to this video. While evacuating Naomi, Snake has an encounter with a baby non-nuclear Metal Gears and is saved by Raiden, who has now fully embraced the way of the sword and is a cyborg ninja. Raiden has a catfight with Vamp to see which of them is more insane as Snake makes his escape, leaving Raiden on death's door. Liquid actually manages to get his hand on the body of Big Boss, and shuts down every nanomachine-enhanced soldier in the world except for him, giving him a minor advantage. He plans to return to Shadow Moses Island and use the old Metal Gear Rex to launch a nuke at Arsenal Gear, which is where the main Patriot's AI is stored in order to destroy it once and for all. Snake manages to reach Rex before Liquid, piloting the mech to fight him as Liquid pilots a ray of his own. Luckily, Rays are mass-produced and fold over like cardboard, so even though Rex is broken as hell, the fight went about as well as dropping in a Nokia on an iPhone 10 to see which one shatters. After both Rex and Ray are scrap metal, Ocelot panics and runs away, attempting to ram Arsenal Gear into the shoreline to kill Snake. Raiden jumps in to save Snake and is able to hold back the entirety of Arsenal Gear with a missing arm. And the only thing he loses is the other one. But since he's a cyborg, he doesn't need arms, and people will still call him a bitch. Snake, Raiden, board Arsenal Gear in order to upload one last virus. Once the squad is on Arsenal Gear, they make their way to the objective, and then Raiden staying behind to hold back soldiers. I told you he doesn't need arms. In order to scramble the AI's brain, Snake gets put in the microwave and has to crawl his way out for 5 minutes straight while everyone cries. Once the AI has been dealt with, Liquid is the final loose end Snake needs to deal with before he can go home and watch Family Feud. What follows is the most cinematic boss fight I have ever seen in a video game. 2 old men beating each other to death. In fact, Snake is able to beat the ever-loving Liquid out of him, turning him back into Ocelot for a few minutes before he succumbs to his injuries and dies. Just kidding, another heart attack. With one final somber conversation, Otacon promises Snake that he'll stand by his side until the very end of his life as his witness. And so ends the life of Solid Snake. But Solid Snake isn't the last protagonist in this series. Now that Raiden has fulfilled his Metal Gear Rising revengeance, he continues to travel around the world, ignoring his wife and child like the roaming samurai archetype he is.